But here's the thing, I never felt like I belonged anywhere, but I always fitted in. I'm very good at fitting in.
Are we ready to go, chippies?
What another beautiful morning. I'm just about to go out for a walk with Gypsy and got a few things that I'm thinking about. I've seen a few videos lately on YouTube about belonging and they've really resonated with me. Belonging is something that I've really thought a lot about over the last few years. And I wanted to share my thoughts. I've moved around a lot in my life and I've never felt like I truly belonged anywhere in any place with any particular group of people. I've always fitted in, and that's something I'm going to come back to later. This is my parents' house here in Norfolk, where I'm currently living. They've been here for around 4 years. I'm living here because I have chronic fatigue and I can't afford to rent a place of my own at the moment because I can't work enough to be able to earn that kind of money. I'm doing up a van to be able to live in that, but for now, I'm here. Do I feel like I belong living with my parents, age 42? Of course not. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll recognise this landscape. It's very typical of Norfolk, very flat. It's a beautiful part of the country. If I'm going to be anywhere in the UK, this is a nice place to be. I like it. Do I feel like I belong here? No. I grew up in a town called Fleet, which is in Hampshire, about an hour outside of London, a commuter town of, I'm guessing, around 40,000 people. Did I ever feel like I belonged there? Never. I left as soon as I could. Do I feel like I belong in the UK? Definitely not. I've lived most of my adult life abroad. When I was 25, I went to Thailand to become a scuba diving instructor. No real plan on how long I would spend there. I was married at the time, but that's a whole nother story. I ended up spending about 7 years living in Thailand. During that time, I also spent a bit of time in the Philippines, in Cyprus. But the majority of that time was in Thailand from 2007 to 2014. I had absolutely the best time living in Thailand. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. I worked my way up very quickly from qualifying as a scuba diving instructor to teaching people how to be scuba diving instructors. I had an amazing job with Mark's a Worker. Mark, if you're watching, hello. And I had it really well worked out for myself. I set my own schedule. I often only worked for a couple of weeks of the month and spent the other half of the month travelling around Thailand on motorbikes. I met some of the most awesome people, the biggest characters. Did I ever feel like I belonged? No, not really. I don't think that as an expat you ever feel like you belong. Did it matter? No, I don't think so. It didn't matter to me at all. When I returned from Thailand, I was living for a time in Spain, in Valencia, and in the Charente in southwest France. And I was also travelling backwards and forwards to the UK to work as a live-in support worker, living with people who need assistance to live their lives independently. So I was here, there and everywhere. I certainly didn't feel like I belonged in any place at that time. But here's the thing, I never felt like I belonged anywhere, but I always fitted in. I'm very good at fitting in. I think part of being autistic is that I feel like I have consciously learnt how to interact with people rather than it being something that I have learnt naturally and subconsciously without thinking about it. I feel like I learned it very consciously. And because I did that, I am very good at knowing what people want from me. It's a common misconception that people with autism can't socialise, or they're not very good at socialising. If you're female, I think you learn to become very good at socialising and fitting in. A few years ago, I heard Brené Brown say something which just blew my mind. She said, or she says, the opposite of belonging is fitting in. The opposite of belonging is fitting in. And she says that's because to fit in, you assess the situation and you change yourself so that you can fit in. Whereas true belonging requires that you are yourself and you are accepted for yourself. You don't change anything about yourself to belong. That just blew my mind because it made me realise that's what I've done my entire life. It got to a point where I just had a bit of a breakdown because I really didn't know who I was. I really didn't feel like I knew who I was. I had known for a while that I had a problem with like a continuous sense of self, like I didn't recognise past selves. I still have a little bit of a problem with that, but I'm starting to feel more whole. I may have grown up in suburbia, but I've come to realise that the place where I feel like I truly belong, where I have that deep sense of belonging, is when I'm in our natural environment. When I'm in towns and cities, I feel very separate. But when I'm in our natural environment, no matter where I am, no matter which country I'm in, She is not happy with me sitting and talking to the camera. She's getting very antsy. And the other thing in my life that has given me a true sense of belonging is the ability to quieten my mind. And it is the practice of yoga that has allowed me to finally quieten my mind, because my mind is a busy place, always has been. But through the physical practice of asana, through breath practices, and through living according to the yama and niyama and the other philosophical concepts of yoga, I have been able to quieten my mind. And when I can quieten my mind, I can experience a sense of pure awareness. And when you can be in that pure awareness without your mind going meh, 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 I find that I experience a true sense of belonging in this world. Because I realize that that sense of pure awareness that is at my core is no different to the consciousness that pervades this world. In yogic philosophy, consciousness is primary, and this is something that physicists are actually starting to agree with. Consciousness is primary, and matter is an expression of consciousness. So the world has consciousness, and we are an expression of that consciousness. So our individual consciousness is just one expression of the universal consciousness. And when she's trying to hump my neck again. When you come to think of the world like that, it changes everything. Because if you just think of human beings as having consciousness and nothing else has consciousness, you do feel very separate from the world. You don't feel like you belong. She's still trying to hump me. If you think of the world as having consciousness, of being conscious, and you are just an expression, a temporary expression of that consciousness, then you have like a real, true, deep sense of belonging. And that has just been mind-blowing for me. So although I still don't feel like I belong anywhere, particularly in the world, not to any place, I feel like I belong. I am a very important part of this world. And I don't feel like I have to fit in. I feel like I can just be me. And I'll belong anyway. I belong to this world. I would love to know what you think about belonging. Do you feel like you belong? Do you feel like you belong to any place in particular? Do you feel like you belong here in this world? Do you feel like you belong in your body, with the people that you spend your time with? I'm really interested to know. If you would like to share, then drop something in the comments and I will definitely reply. If you've resonated with what I've said in this video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, then consider doing so that you can keep up to date with future releases. I hope you have a wonderful day, folks. Take care.